Go ahead and get started. I know I posted my little flyer last minute, but it's all good. It's all good. Okay, we got some people trying to join the group so they can tap in. All right, this is not going to be a long live. I really just wanted to pop in real quick because I've got some good stuff for y'all. So, and I'll get to the topic at hand in just a minute, but I wanted to give you a good little backstory as to how all of this came to be. So, you know how it is when you are driving and just kind of focused on what you're doing, and then you just get that punch in the gut, right? The Lord did a divine download on me this weekend while we were traveling from Atlanta to Birmingham. And what he dropped in my spirit was that so many people don't know how to scale their business. And I have inside knowledge on that, being that I work for a Fortune 500 company. And most people don't know. A lot of people think that I'm just a full-time entrepreneur, but I actually still do have a W-2 job. And I won't get into who I work for and what I do because that's really not relevant. The relevant point is what I do on a daily basis is manage programs. And so I have responsibility for 13 programs that have a combined annual budget of $70 million. And a lot of what I do is just finding people to do the work. So I contract with a lot of businesses in support of what we do. So I try to be intentional. I don't just talk about being an advocate for minority and women-owned businesses. It's not just what I do just kind of as a brand, a personal brand. I mean, this is something that is really important to me, and I leverage my role. I don't take it lightly, the responsibility that I have. So I leverage that role to ensure that we're being good stewards of the dollars that we have responsibility for, and ensuring that minority and small businesses get their fair share of those dollars. So it's an important thing for me personally, but I take that and advocate within the company for small businesses. There are certain policies and procedures that we have that make it very difficult for small businesses to do business with this big corporation. It can be very intimidating, and people don't know how to navigate all of that. So I leverage my role in corporate America to start moving the needle. So again, this is just something that I do throughout my entire life. It's not just focused on what I do as an entrepreneur. So that being said, I see a lot of things that the small businesses do well, and I see a lot of the things that they don't do well. And so what I wanted to start doing is bringing some of those learning experiences to the people so that they know here's how you engage with a large corporation, right? There's certain protocols, there's rules to the game, and a lot of that is unwritten rules. And you need to understand how to navigate that, because you will end up getting put on a blacklist and not know why, right? Hey, Leslie. Hey, Emily. Hey, Rose. All right. So yeah, that's my little backstory as to how I got to this point. And I really did not make that connection until literally that moment. I'm like, girl, you've been doing all of this stuff for small businesses all this time, and it never even occurred to me that people don't know the things that they need to know about doing business with a corporation. So why is that important? If you get to a point in your business where your revenue starts to plateau, right? It starts to level off and you just can't seem to get more revenue in your business, then you have to start diversifying your revenue streams. So what was good enough to get you here is not going to be good enough to get you to that next level, right? You got to level up. And to do that, you need to be thinking about how to contract with, I mean, corporate contracts is just one piece. There are government contracts. There's so many other ways to do this. But I'm talking specifically about corporate contracts. There's plenty of people out there talking about government contracts. Matter of fact, when you click off this video, you'll probably see somebody posting about that on their page. I wanted to specifically talk about corporate contracts because these corporations, they are looking for you. They are looking for you. And the reason why is because, and a lot of it is kind of this shift that's taking place, moving towards equity and racial justice and really trying to level the playing field. And just about every large corporation out there has goals centered around that. So they know they've got to do more. And supplier diversity is just one of those areas that fit within that strategy. So they want to find qualified vendors to spend these dollars with. And if you are able to show that you are capable, right? So that means you got to have results, you got to have credibility and some other things to get consideration. But if you can show them that you have a credible business and that you can deliver on what they need, they will do business with you. All right. But there's a lot of mistakes that people make, which is really what I wanted to talk about this evening. So I just jotted down some notes about the top 5 mistakes that people make when they're trying to get corporate contracts. So these are some things that you just need to be aware of that you need to be intentional about. Okay. The first one is doing your research. You need to know who it is that you want to do business with. And you need to understand what their priorities are, right? I've already given you one. They want to improve their commitments to supplier diversity. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big focus for most corporations. So guess what? They probably have a page on their website that talks about nothing but that. And if you're a small, diverse business, you are directly aligned to that focus area. So that's one thing you need to be aware of. What are they? What are their goals and what are they focused on? And then you can start to align where you can play, right? So what are your qualifications? What are your capabilities? And how does that align to their needs? And so I'll give you an example. I don't know. Let's just say you want to do business with Coca-Cola. You've identified that you have something that they need. So you would want to start with their website. Look at their website, figure out what their strategies and their focus areas are. You want to read their annual report. Most large corporations are going to have a corporate social responsibility report as well. All of these things, press releases, there's a ton of information. If you Google Coca-Cola, you're going to be inundated with information about their business. Do your research. And that's how you're going to understand how to talk to them, how to speak their language, and tap into their needs. Because at the end of the day, you've got to solve a problem for them. And if you don't know enough about their business, you won't be able to identify that problem. They're not going to care what you have to say. Bottom line is, you need to be able to solve a problem. Okay? So that was number 1, not doing your research. That's a big mistake. And it takes time to do that. It takes effort, but it is well worth it. The second mistake is thinking that it's all about you. As much as we want to feel good that that they care about you and care about your business, they run a business, and it's about the bottom line. Okay, so although it feels good to support a small minority business, that can't be the only reason why they're going to work with you. It's not enough. Okay. So you got to make it about them and not about you. I talk to a lot of businesses that talk so much about themselves and not enough about our company and what they can do for us. And so if it's all about you, that it seems to be not be an equitable relationship. It's not going to be mutually beneficial. There needs to be value for both parties. So don't make it about you because it's not. It will never be about you. That's number two. Number three is overpromising and under delivering. I'm going to give you an example of what that might look like because this happens frequently as well. So, if we are in a pitch meeting and they're sharing with us what they do, how they can help us, and they've done their homework so they know what it is that we need to some extent. And if we ask a question that says, hey, have you ever done this? Or can you do this? And they say, yes, we can do that, but they've never done it before. And so, as a decision maker, we know you've never done it before by the way that you answer the question. So if we ask for, okay, so what other companies have you done this type of project for? Can you show us some some of your testimonials? Can you give us a little background as to how successful it was for that company? And they can't give you specifics and they talk very generally about that. That means they ain't done it before. And so if you are not able to meet those qualifications or to deliver on those expectations, just don't even go there. Just say, you know what? We're really good at X, Y, and Z. That is not in our wheelhouse, and that's okay. Like we know what we're good at, and we stay in our lane. I can respect that as a decision maker to say, you know what? I appreciate the honesty instead of saying, yes, you can do that and not being able to fulfill on that commitment. So, a strategy that you can leverage is instead of, just saying, no, I can't do that. If you know another company that you can partner with that can fill that gap, do a partnership, right? 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. You don't want to lose the opportunity if you are able to partner with somebody else and be able to close that deal. So that's number three, over-promising and under-delivering. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So when I was talking about research, the programs that I manage, we will issue an RFP, a request for proposal. So basically that means that we put out this document that says, here's what we need. This is the budget that we have, and these are the results that we're trying to get from this project. And we will open it up for bids. And so if you have not done your research, like that RFP, there's a ton of information in there that's valuable. If you do a good job of really reading that RFP and crafting a bid response that speaks directly to what we need, we're typically very explicit about what we need and what we want. I have gotten some bid responses that, y'all, I can tell you, it was recycled from some other bid that they submitted from some other company. So when it's very evident that they didn't put forth the effort into the bid and making it personal to my company, I don't consider them. Right? So you haven't even. I took the time to create this very detailed RFP, and you haven't even thought enough of me to read through it and create a personalized response in a bid. You're not going to get consideration. Not worth my time. Right? So I wanted to double back on that one just to say your research can be just reading the RFP and responding personally to that with that bid. Number 4. So this is one we got to do better, y'all. And that is around your brand, your presence. Um, if your brand is not professional, because what's going to happen is if you reach out to me, let's just say you hit me on LinkedIn or you connect with me at a conference or wherever, chamber event, wherever, and I talk to you, you're interested in pitching to us. I'm gonna do my homework on you. Okay, I'm gonna pull you up on LinkedIn, look at your LinkedIn profile. I'm gonna pull up your company website. I'll probably try to find you on social media like Facebook or whatever too. I want to know, is this somebody who is going to, if we enter into a contract with you, is it going to hurt my company's brand? Because our brand is, next to our people, the most important thing. Our people and our brand are what make us the company that we are. And if there's any risk that you're going to hurt our brand image or our brand reputation, or your values don't align with our company values, it's not a good fit. So I'm not going to take that risk. So you need to know that your brand image, and that is more than just your logo, it is more than just your website. You need to have a presence, and that presence needs to be professional and credible, right? I need to know that you're going to not just not hurt my brand, but you're going to help elevate my brand. If you can show me that, you got my attention. Okay. And then the last one I have is it kind of gets back to reading the RFP and being very focused on our needs. If you see that someone has issued an RFP and you're crafting your bid response, and your response is over the budget that we have, how, make that make sense. Make that make sense. If you're not able to deliver on what we need within our budget, I can't afford to do it. So instead of taking the time to try to create this very elaborate bid response that may be hitting all the right points, but we can't afford to do it, it just does not align with our needs. Our budget is a very critical need. We have to be able to stay within budget. So if you can't provide that level of service to us within our budget that we have allocated to it, probably not a good fit. Probably not a good fit. So those were just a few of the points that I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to check your comments real quick and see if y'all had any questions for me. Brand equity is everything. Everything. Yes. Professional presence. All about that. I need vendors that are going to make me look good, Make me look like a rock star within my company. What questions y'all got? No? I know it's a bit of a delay on Facebook, so I'll give y'all a second. And I probably could come up with about 10 more, but then I'd probably be getting into, hey, Tiana. I'd probably be getting into some of the things that are in my webinar that I'm going to be opening up for purchase not long after we finish this live. So really, this was the intention. What is an RFP? Great question. That is a request for proposal. And so what it is we would have, let's just say we've got a new program or a new project that we need to get completed. And it's going to be a 1-year project. And I need to find a supplier to be able to provide a service for that project. Um, for a project of a certain size, we have to put out an RFP, a request for proposal. So basically, what that is, that's an invitation for you to submit a bid to me for that project. So that RFP is going to be very detailed. It's going to tell you exactly what the scope of work is that we need completed. It'll tell you the time frame that we need it completed. It will tell you the budget that we have for that project. It's extremely detailed. So you take that and you review it and say, okay, that's a good match for my company capabilities. So I'm going to submit a bid in response to that RFP. Okay. So basically, what you're telling them is, I've got what you need, and I can provide that service at the level that you need within your budget. So you craft a bid response to that request for proposal. What's your thoughts on cold pitching on LinkedIn? Ooh, that's a good question. Um, it's a strategy that you should be using, but there's definitely it can go either way. we'll just we'll just say that it can go either way. So I do have companies that reach out to me all the time on LinkedIn. The way that you come at me is that matters. It does matter. So yeah, you don't want to come across as, spammy, for lack of a better word. Just if you're very professional in the way that you approach a company. Like, I have done that. I've actually done, cold touches through LinkedIn. It's not the most effective strategy. I will say that for most people. But it can be done well. The way that I typically have done it is, I try to start off with a little bit of humor because it's already awkward anyway, right? So I might start off the conversation saying, hey, please don't crucify me for hitting you cold in your LinkedIn inbox, but I really didn't want to miss the opportunity to connect with you and just share a little bit about me. And I'm open to learning a whole lot more about you and see if there is alignment between, what our businesses do. Maybe we can, support each other from a networking perspective. Right. So try to bring their guard down a little bit, because it's going to be awkward either way if you're hitting somebody cold in their LinkedIn. Now, I would suggest if you can kind of warm them up a little bit, connect with them and then start interacting and engaging with them. If you see that they share an article, say, thanks for sharing. This was really interesting. Or if you see that they have a milestone, a work anniversary, or something like that, try to engage with them for a period of time before you hit them in the inbox. You might get a better response that way because they've started to see you in a different light. It's not like you're just going straight for the sale, right? So that's the way I would approach LinkedIn. I'd probably be a little bit softer about it. Okay, so hopefully that answered the question about the RFP. Does it matter if the company is a for-profit or nonprofit, and do the proposals differ across those lines? That's a really good question. So typically, an RFP is going to be issued. A nonprofit can issue an RFP. What I'm talking more specifically about now is typically going to be for-profit companies that are issuing these RFPs. But even city, state, and federal governments will issue RFPs as well. So those can be issued by any type of company. Do the proposals differ across those lines? Really, at the end of the day, everybody has the same goal. They're trying to get a supplier for a specific need. So the proposal might sound a little bit different if you're doing it for a nonprofit versus a for-profit, because their goals are probably going to be different. So if you're really reading that RFP and pulling out the nuggets of what's important to them, you're going to craft your bid response accordingly. So you're going to speak more to the impact if you're talking to a nonprofit, right? If you're talking to a for profit, you might be more focused on the bottom line and the other metrics and results that are important to them. Might be customer satisfaction or shareholder value, whatever it is that is important to them that aligns to that project need. Um, what resources can use? Okay, wait a minute. Make sure I read that right. Resources you can use to find. What are the resources you can use to find corporate RFPs? I see governments use local newspapers sometimes. Okay, another good question. So there are different databases that are out there for RFPs. The one that we use is more specific to our industry. But there's like one called GovWin, I know has a lot of government RFPs that get posted there. It would probably make more sense for you to do a search for the industry that you're in and then the word RFP. So it might be, I don't know, consulting RFP or training RFP, something along those lines. You will find some that are out there. If you search the industry plus the word RFP, there are typically databases that are available that you can do. You might have to pay for a subscription, but that you can do a search on. These are good questions. Good questions. What else? And y'all, these RFPs can be like the budgets can be significant. Like when I tell you, I award millions of dollars in contracts a year. My annual budget is 70 million, and of that 70 million, usually somewhere between 60 and 65 million gets awarded in contracts. Would an RFP be important for a dessert caterer? Let me think about that. I don't know that I've seen any, because typically these RFPs are going to be for like a longer period of time, right? So you're going to be focused on events. I don't know that I see RFPs like that unless you're talking about something where you are managing the entire event. So I don't know, maybe the White House issues an RFP for their big Christmas event. I don't know. But that is possible, but I would say it's probably going to be for something large scale. But yeah, that's one you probably want to do a Google search and see what you can find. I don't know that I've ever run across anything like that, but I would say it's probably going to be more for y'all see that lightning? For the whole event than just the catering portion. Like to put product on the shelf. So, so you really need more of a distribution agreement, I'm guessing. I'm not a retail expert, so I can't really tell you, about the retail industry, but it sounds like that's more of what you would be looking for, right? Is that right, Tiana? And yes, your products need to be on somebody's shelf. I can't fool with you. I've been and had to roll myself up out of here. Them desserts be having me drooling on the phone. Any other questions? I will make one distinction because I don't want you to think that RFPs are the only way to get corporate contracts. That is one way. Another way is what we call a sole source. And a sole source agreement means that maybe it's not a project that's large enough to justify issuing an RFP is a ton of work. So let me just say that creating the RFP is work. Reviewing all of the bids is work. And when we get bids, it might be a 60-page bid, and I might have 20 of those to review. That's a lot of work. So the RFP process is time consuming. So we will only do that for large projects where it needs to be in RFP. The other option is to do the sole source. And what that means is I don't have to put it out for bid. I can, do my own research. I might go to a consultant and say, hey, find me the best companies that do X, Y, and Z. And I might review those. I might go to some conferences and, start, networking and identifying companies that I feel like are a good fit for what I need. And I might make the determination that I don't need to put an RFP out on this. I want to do business with that particular company. And if that's the case, I have to do a sole source justification that has to be approved by our vice president. So that is a way to do it, but I have to justify it. I have to say, I've done my research. This company is best positioned to be able to serve our needs for this particular project. Approve a sole source justification. And in that case, I don't have to put it out for bid. I can go ahead and make that decision and enter into a contract with that company to do the work. So sole sourcing is one path, RFP is another path. So don't think it has to be an RFP. You can actually do a contract with someone. It's kind of like the stars kind of have to align. That you are, if they're not finding you, that you are reaching out to them at the right time and addressing a specific need that they have at that time, or at least planting the seed so that when they do have the need, that they're thinking about you. Okay, so a lot of things have to happen just right for that to work in your favor, but it is possible. Can you give examples of contracts that you award? um, so we do a lot of marketing. So there are marketing agencies that we contract with to be able to manage our marketing campaigns. There are softwares that we need to be able to manage our programs. So if there's a specific software that we need for like a donation portal or whatever, I might contract with a company that has that type of software. There are other programs where there are companies that actually kind of like project manage for us. So I'll enter into a project management agreement. So for example, every 3 years we have a big RFP that we issue to award the contracts for the next 3 years. And it's chaos managing all of the moving parts associated with the RFP process. After we have made the awards is typically where I bring in this consultant that will help me with managing the onboarding process for all of these vendors. So what does that look like? We have to get approval from our IT department. That's part of a vendor risk assessment. And so they do a lot of work to determine, does this vendor have the right data security requirement, right? So we're not going to entrust our customers' data to a company that is not secure. We don't want a data breach like Equifax or something like that. So we have to go through that vendor risk assessment process in order to bring them on board. And if I'm trying to hire 5, 7, 10 contractors at one time, that work, along with setting up purchase orders, there's a whole lot of stuff that happens for all of that to come together. I probably can manage all of that, but I would be crazy. I would be running around here like a chicken with my head cut off. I hire consultants to project manage for me. Is that helpful, Latisa? So it can be any number of needs. What other questions y'all have? You're welcome. Y'all had some good questions. I was expecting to be on here for about 20 or 30 minutes. This was great. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I am going to post in the group the link to my webinar that talks about how to get corporate contracts for your small, diverse business. And again, the opportunity is definitely now. Like small minority owned businesses, women owned businesses, veteran owned businesses, like we popping right now. We are popping right now. And so these companies, they're looking for good vendors to use. So I do have that webinar that I recorded, and y'all, I made this like ridiculously cheap. It's $20 for this webinar that kind of gives you the inside scoop. Like a lot of the stuff that we talked about, I go into much more depth in the webinar about what a corporation is going to be looking for in a small business. Like those things that are going to get you consideration versus the things that are going to get you moved to the back of the line. I go into all of that and really break it down for you. So if that's something that you're interested in, $20, I'll drop the link for you. I also have a bonus, which is for a template, like a sample of a capability statement. And if you don't know what a capability statement is, you got your credit card ready? Okay, girl. And share the link with other people who need this. Because, like I said, ain't nobody talking about this. And I'm trying to put y'all up on game. Okay. But there's the capability statement is kind of like your business resume. I know some of y'all that have been in my entrepreneurship academy have seen what a capability statement is. I actually shared that as one of the leave behinds in my entrepreneurship academy. But that capability statement is your business resume, and it's going to tell who your company is. It mentions who you are, what your capabilities are, right? So what are you good at? That capability statement is going to be what you're going to send to a corporation to say, I'd like to do business with you. I think I can help solve this problem for you. Here's my capability statement. And typically, you want to send that to them in advance. If you're able to get a meeting with them, give them the capability statement, let them review it ahead of time so that when you come to the table for the conversation, they already are familiar with your business. And if they have some questions, then they can already have thought through those so you make the most of your time that you have when you're actually in front of them, right? So that capability statement is important. You can use that for corporate prospects as well as you have to have it if you're bidding on any government contracts. To get registered with sam.gov, you need to have a capability statement for certifications, all of that. So the capability statement is something you need to have on go anyway. So I included that as one of the bonuses with the webinar. So yeah, that was all that I had. I wanted to kind of have this conversation and get a feel for whether or not this was even helpful or valuable. Is this something that y'all feel like y'all want to hear more about? Because if so, I can start bringing more content like this to y'all. Y'all know I suck with lives and stuff. I got to get better. I say that every time I do one of these, don't I? I suck. Is this helpful? We got to start moving the needle. And this is me doing my small part. Thanks, Rose. All right, queens. I am going to cut y'all loose.